to find out, how do we train ourselves to be a warrior? That means we're going to have to start doing something differently. Train ourselves to get strong. You guys ready to find out how to do this? All right. Well, there's a guy that lived many centuries ago, and he lived actually in the region of China, and his name was Sun Tzu. Okay? You guys want to say that with me one time? It's kind of fun. Sun Tzu. I know, it just rolls off the tongue. But anyways, this guy wrote a book called The Art of War. And even though this book is centuries old, people say that it's one of the most profound books on war ever written. And when we were looking at this, I found a quote in there that I feel like we can learn how to train ourselves and get strong in this spiritual battle from what he talked about being in natural battles. And this is the comment that he made. He says, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you don't need to fear the result of 100 battles. He says, but if you know yourself and not your enemy, for every victory, you're going to suffer defeat. And so how does the enemy attack us? Listen, one word, the enemy attacks us with deception. He deceives us into thinking that sin really is better than what we know is right. And once he does that, he can mess with our lives. And so the Bible is telling us, in fact, Paul, he wrote half the New Testament. In all his letters, you know, he said, listen, I'm telling you these things so that you don't get deceived by the high-sounding arguments of the enemy. Because he's saying his weapon's deception, and he's really good at it. So we know our enemy, number one. Number two, we got to know ourselves. Mike, what do you mean know yourself? Well, the first thing you need to know are, where are your areas of weakness? Where are your areas of greatest temptation? What are the areas that you find the enemy, you know, causing you to fall the most in? Some of the areas of your greatest struggle. Because once you know that, you know where the enemy is going to attack. You see, your areas of weakness, you guys, they're like gaps in your armor. And what the enemy is going to do is he knows as soon as you get home from acquiring the fire, you know where he's going to try to attack you, right in your area of weakness. Maybe it's a boyfriend, girlfriend. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's, you know, partying, whatever. And he's going to go right for that area. And so when we know the enemy, he's going to deceive us in our areas of weakness. We got to know ourselves. What are those areas so that we can get strong in those areas? It's kind of like this. If you knew that an enemy had a sword and he was going to strike right for your kneecap and you had a shield, well, now you know you can block it because you know your enemy, you know your area of weakness, bam, you can stop his attacks, right? If you want to stand strong, you need to find those areas of weakness and then get some truth and start filling yourself with truth in those areas. And if you'll do that, guess what? The enemy's going to try to make you fall like he did every other time, but all of a sudden when he swings, ding, somebody got strong, right? And you block that attack, and you don't fall in the areas that you used to. You guys, look, you want to be strong in God? You want to have a relationship with God that really does meet the desires of your heart? Man, I'm telling you, you can have it. You really can. But it's not going to happen just accidentally. It's going to happen as you pursue the Lord and train yourself in spiritual things. You're going to know God the way you desire. You're going to be strong the way you desire. You know, Paul gives us a hint. I love it. In 1 Corinthians 9, he says this. He says, don't you know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? He said, run in such a way as to get the prize. He said, everyone who competes in the games goes into, here we go again, strict training. They do it for a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. The key is, what are you going to do when you leave? Are you going to take it seriously? Are you going to train yourself? Because if you do, God will change you. You're not going to have to worry about standing strong. You will stand strong. But it depends on what you put into practice when you leave.